Hi, I'm Caitlin E, and welcome to the Lit Review. Today I'm kicking off a new series that we're going to continue into 2021, and that is recommending books based on your star sign. So I'm going to do this like roughly once a month to match up with the 12 signs of the zodiac. I am by no means an expert in astronomy or astrology, so please don't come for me if you feel like I have grossly maligned your star sign. I am a moderate knowledge at best. I'm not going to go to like the full breadth and depth of this, but I am going to try to give you some recommendations and a mixed bag of things that I've read and can happily recommend to you, and some things that I'm going to try to predict whether or not they would be good fits based on their descriptions. So we're starting off with Capricorn, and Capricorn, the babies are from December 22nd to January 19th. So that's why I'm starting this now, so that those who are earlier Capricorn babies can still have plenty of time and joy to try to track some of these books down, and it'll give you a heads up for some of those books that are coming out during that time period. So again, just to do like a really quick rough and tumble description of Capricorns. Again, I'm not trying to be perfect in my celestial descriptions here, but they are an earth sign and they are often very grounded. Their color, from what I can tell, is brown. Some of their known positive traits are that Capricorns are very responsible. They are very strong in their self-control. They are independent-minded people. Some things that can trip them up, though, is that they can also be really unforgiving, that they can be a touch condescending sometimes, and they tend to expect the worst in people. But they really heavily value family and tradition, and again, those things that like ground them and keep them centered. Also, Capricorns are said to thrive on order and really enjoy being rule followers. And some famous Capricorns, based on their birth dates, are Michelle Obama, Kate Middleton, John Legend, Timothy Chalamet, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Betty White, and Dolly Parton. So if you're a Capricorn, you're in great company. All of the different like projective horoscopes that I was reading for the whole year of 2021 came up with this phrase like again and again across all the different things that I was cross-referencing. There's a really strong idea that for 2021, Capricorns are going to be working on building a steady foundation to work from. So reconnecting with their foundation of what they want in the next year. So that's kind of the mood for 2021 in Capricorn. So here are my book recommendations based on that information. Also, if you are a Capricorn, how about you recommend me some books? If you are a Capricorn, so again, born between December 22nd and January 19th, you let me know. So the first book that I would like to recommend to my Capricorn friends is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. Why I think you'll like this, it is a book that is really centered on family, even though it is a bit of a chaotic one. And you really get in the heads of each of those different family members. So you get to see the multiple perspectives. You get to see how tradition is a joy and a weight and a burden at the same time. You get to see how the negative parts of people's nature can really kind of blossom and create things in different unexpected ways. So while this may not sound like a very joyous read based on that pitch, because it's a complicated one, a literary fiction masterpiece by Celeste Ng, and it really tackles the family drama really beautifully. So if you enjoy family narratives, I think this was going to be a good one for you. And it really made me think about the role that family plays, both in the good and the bad sense in our life. So I think this could be a good one for you. Another book I'd like to recommend to my Capricorn friends is My Sister, the Serial Killer by Oyenkin Braithwaite. It's a really short book, so if you are, like looking for something quick and easy, I actually highly recommend the audiobook. The narrator in that audiobook is beautiful, phenomenal, excellent reader. I think you'll identify with the main character, Corade. She is responsible. She's the one with the best self-control, and she is the older sister who has a younger sister, Iola, who is beautiful and charming and gets away with just about everything, including maybe murder. So you really are in Corade's head for this story, and you get to see her tensions between wanting her own independence and wanting to be recognized, and like the bonds of family that mean so much to her but those bonds are put in jeopardy when Iola starts to date a doctor at the hospital that Corday works in, that Corday has feelings for. So it's a really good novel about like the complications of family. Really good character who is responsible and has a lot of self-control, but you kind of get to watch those break down a little bit. So I highly recommend that book for you. Another family-centered book. I realize that for Capricorns, you are so much more than your love of family and tradition, but this really rang true for me as having a lot of those different layers that I think you might enjoy. So the book, This Is Where I Leave You by Jonathan Tropper. It is a book about a family coming together in the wake of grief. They are a family that is divided and doesn't always see eye to eye, and a lot of the children are in very different places in their lives, but they have to come home to be a part of a funeral, and coming together makes them face a lot of things that are going on in their lives currently, and some old wounds as well. It's funny, it's dark, it's interesting. The main character is not like, his life is not together. So I think there's potential here for some of the characters to make you a touch uncomfortable, but I think you'll really connect with the sense of like family themes and tradition, and then like you might even delight in some of the ways that rules are broken by the characters. So I highly recommend that book. It is very emotionally resonant. It is definitely a more thinker kind of book. It'll hit some emotional notes for you. So would like to recommend to you, with that that kind of resounding note that was hitting across a lot of different horoscopes that I was reading about, like building a steady foundation. To me, a lot of what that means is like getting your own house in order, like getting your life together. And so with that in mind, I'd like to recommend to you The Little Book of Life Hacks by Yumi Sakugawa. So it says here in the subheading, how to make your life happier, healthier, and more beautiful. And this is like a little graphic novel component. It is also taupe, which is a kind of brown. So it is very much the aesthetic and color palette of Capricorn, if one is to be believed. But it's also heckin' cute, and it has like a lot of really cute drawings. Yumi is the artist and the author, and so it has things like how to make your own disinfecting wipes, or how to brew your own iced coffee, 13 tricks for eating healthier. Like, the art's super cute. There's a lot of really good stuff in here across different layers. There's, things like 5 fabulous ideas for making your own cocktail party ready drink coasters. So it covers all these like different little elements of adulting. And they're like just little tricks and tips like that help you feel more centered, help you feel more capable of dealing with like the little everyday ordinary stuff. And it's really cute. The aesthetic is lovely. It's also, like very much gonna appeal to the part of you that likes the rules, that likes the order, that likes to optimize things. This may not like fix your whole life, but it'll help with the little things, and the little things mean a lot. In a more classic oriented way, I thought about Capricorns, and we talked, like some of the traits that were mentioned about being responsible and self-control and independent, and sometimes even thinking the worst in people as a potential downplay. But I really think this would come in handy for you if you were interested in tackling Sherlock Holmes. So I have the complete works here. It's in 2 different volumes. I love Sherlock Holmes stories. They're very fun. They really, again, play to that logic, the rule and order that I think you might enjoy. And always tackling a classic is nice. And they're short. They're consumable. They are going to make you feel smart as you start to figure out the tips and tricks of the one Sherlock Holmes. But they're fun. They're puzzly. I think you might like them. They're hitting a totally different note than some of the other recommendations I'm offering here. They really are about like the order of things and the rules. And if once you understand those rules, you can start to try to catch up with Sherlock Holmes. It's really entertaining for me, at least as a reader. I hope it's also entertaining for you. I also think you could read a book from a fellow Capricorn, and one of my all-time favorites within that space is actually Becoming by Michelle Obama. So not only is Michelle Obama a fellow Capricorn, she is giving you this memoir that is just one of the best gifts I've ever received. It is something I highly, again, recommend listening to on audiobook. I bought it in hardcover because I just loved it so much that I wanted to have a physical copy. But really, it does talk through the importance of family and tradition in her life, but it talks about so much more. It talks about how she has felt that she had to like swerve, I think is what she calls it in this book, and she's had to make these life pivots that came from really unexpected places, and how uncomfortable that was, but how validating it was when she was able to make them. And that was really inspiring to me. And I think the part of you that is into self-control, but looking for opportunity, looking to build new spaces and to like build that foundation, but also make big decisions that are the right ones for you, not just because they're steady and steadfast. I think you'll find inspiration in this book. It's a phenomenal book overall, and it is about her time as First Lady, her time growing up in Chicago. There's so much more to her life story, and it's just one of the best books of 2020 for me. So I hope that you give this a shot if you haven't already in 2021. And then the last book that I'm going to recommend to you, it's a little bit of prognostication on my part, since I haven't read this one, but it's one that's on my radar, and it's been out for a little bit, but it is The Murmur of Bees by Sofia Segovia. It's originally written in Spanish, so it's a translated work, but it has a bit of magical realism, which I think is something that's missing from this list so far, like that fantasy magical realism element. But it still centers really heavily around things like family and finding your way and finding your own sense of self and independence, because there's this young boy that is dropped off at a church who is covered in bees, which sounds terrifying to me personally, because I bees. Even though I love them for what they do for the environment, I don't want them on my person. Anyway, I digress. But this young boy is feared in the community, but adopted by a husband and wife, and the book is about like the coming into one's own of this young child, but also like what it means to be part of this family, and be part of this family in a community that fears something that's a little outside the norm. So I think it would hit a lot of good notes for you in terms of things that might resonate with you personally. And yeah, it's just an interesting book. And it's one that I'm hoping to read myself in the new year, so maybe we can read it together. And I want to leave us off with some things that are actually coming out in the next month or so during Capricorn season. So I want to start doing this with this series so that I can kind of push forward new books, but also they're coming out during Capricorn season, and I gotta wonder if that maybe is going to work for you. But there are three that caught my eye in particular based on some of the themes that I've already brought up in this video. So the first is You Have a Match by Emma Lord, and that is coming out on January 12th. So that one sounds really interesting to me. From what I can tell, it is a book about a young woman who takes like a DNA test and realizes for the first time in her life that she has a sister. But her sister is like an Instagram model, like an influencer. And so she's really confused because she's adopted. So she's really like, wait a minute, why did our parents keep you and not me? So she ends up going to a summer camp where she can have a run-in with her long lost sister. And, shenanigans ensue. It sounds really cute. Emma Lord is the person who did Tweet Cute in the last year. I still haven't read that one, but I hear really good things about it. So I think, again, that's going to hit some family notes. I think the main character, also when I read the description, she sounds really into self-control. She sounds like she is independent, but always longing for a deeper connection. And she wants this like new year that she's embarking on, or this summer that she's embarking on, to be the best yet. She wants that strong foundation. She's going to get it by any means necessary. So I think there's some notes there that could connect with you and your Capricorn identity. And again, I acknowledge Capricorns are so much more than the traits that I've listed. Again, please don't be offended because I've only listed a small amount of what a large amount of humans are capable of. The next one that I would like to recommend to you is actually a sequel, so kind of got to read the first one first, but I think you would like the series, which is why I'm willing to make this call. So We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faisal comes out hopefully on January 19th, which is the last day of Capricorn season, but this is the first book, We Hunt the Flame. Love it. Love it. Very much looking forward to the sequel personally. And again, we have a main character who is heckin' responsible. She has taken on the mantle of hunting for her family and her village so that they can all survive, because the woods are dark and mysterious, and she is one of the only people who can navigate them. And she catches this reputation of her being this mystical hunter. She gets kind of put into a quest or a competition to track down something in a mystical space, and that leads to a whole other adventure that gets her entangled with creatures from mythology. And there's a lot at stake, not just for her and her village, but for her whole community and country. And I'm not going to go too far deep into it because I do not want to spoil the good stuff. But not only is this one of the coolest covers, this first book, it's just a really great book, and I love Hafsa Faisal's writing. So very much looking forward to the sequel, and I'll put the cover for We Free the Stars. Again, another stunning cover. You'll notice it's also very red-brown, which is part of what drew me into this. But I do think you're going to connect with the characters in here and with the story. And there's a lot about the environment even of this world that feels like it would connect with some of the things that draw you in as a Capricorn. So we'll see. You tell me if that's good or not. My last kind of new recommendation, or yet to come out recommendation, is One of the Good Ones by Micah and Maritza Mulite. Apologies if I'm saying your last names or your first names wrong, but that book comes out January 5th. Again, the cover is beautiful. All of these covers are really intriguing to me. So again, pulling from that family and tradition core, but also then pushing against that by looking at things like expecting the worst from people, the perils of being condescending or condescended to, and the idea of self-control and how you try to like hold that in for whatever reason, and then there are good and bad things to that. And those are all things that I see in the description of this book. The main character and her sister are social justice activists, and they, in the process of that, the main character's sister dies. I'm sure there's a lot more to unpack there than that, but like what ends up happening is that people kind of hold her up as in a way that makes some friends and family a little uncomfortable. Like it ignores the fact that she was a whole human being with flaws and a life and a bunch of loved ones. And so they're reconciling that quest for the truth, the quest for justice, staying on the path of activism, but also like reconciling your grief with people's like forced perception of you. It's going to be a really interesting book. It's one that's on my radar for sure. And I'm really hoping that you can connect with it too. Regardless, hopefully, even if you are not a Capricorn, you found some good recommendations in this one. I don't think these books are only going to work for Capricorns, because obviously many of them have worked for me and I am not. So again, I'm not diving in as deep on character traits and all the different nuances of what it means to be a different star sign. It's just getting you, hopefully, some talking points, some good beats to connect with things that you like or dislike, and some that are going to push and pull against your pros and cons of your personality a little bit. So I hope this was enjoyable. Let me know, again, if you are a Capricorn, please let me know down below some of your favorite books. I would like to maybe do a follow-up to this at some point where I read your favorites. Maybe that's the version I produce next year. But I would still really like to hear from you. So I hope this was fun for you. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I hope you have a fantastic reading day. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more of me or this channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!